Okay.
Really, we should be ashamed of
You are not going to get an
ourselves.
argument from me on that subject.
Yeah.
What's wrong with us? I come from my family. There were some creative people. My father was an actor. My mother was not. She was very utilitarian. Why are we as a society so utilitarian? Because we really are. Are we still in survival mode because it's so cold? I don't understand that, because we actually produce probably more brilliant artists per capita than a lot of other countries in the world. I would say most, in fact. What's wrong with our cities?
It's a really, really complicated question. I mean, I've really asked myself that in Toronto, because I mean, I like Toronto, but like art from an aesthetic perspective, it's like, not good. Not good at all. It's getting better. I mean, there's some creative buildings coming up in Toronto, and so some of it is, I think, a function of population size. You know, you need a pretty wicked population center before you start getting a lot of creative occurrences happening. But there's an intrinsic middle-of-the-roadness that characterizes Canadian society that makes it nice, I suppose, which is a very low-end virtue in my estimation. It's like, what's my moral virtue? I'm fundamentally harmless. Jesus, you'd think you could do better than that. So I had an experience with that at the University of Toronto that I'll tell you about, because I think it's extraordinarily comical, and then I'll tell you a little story about how I figured it out. I spent a bunch of time with this artist I told you about, trying to transform my cinder block hellhole, fluorescent lit factory catastrophe of an office into something that someone with some sense could sit in for 30 years without dying. And so I got this artist to act as a consultant.
Does your employer know your feelings about this?
Yes, definitely, yes. They know my feelings about a lot of things, actually. So I brought this artist in, and I loved consulting with him, because he liked to do really spectacular things for no money, which is a lovely set of constraints.
Very creative.
We were going to cover the cinder block walls with cherry plywood, good one side, and then buff it and varnish it, so I'd have a wood paneled office, and then he was going to paint the drop ceilings. Jesus, hell is a place of drop ceilings and fluorescent lights. And so he was going to paint them with this paint called hammerite that looks like beaten steel when it dries.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we had these really cool ideas, and I had a budget of like $1,200, so we were going to completely transform the office for $1,200. And I talked to the former chair of the psychology department about this, who I had some discussions with about transforming the psychology department from this, like, my creative brother-in-law, who designed the chip in the iPhone, by the way, he called the architecture hosable. And what he meant by was that anything of any sort could happen in that building, and you could just hose it down and it would be okay. It's like, God. So my former chair was sort of sensitive to this sort of thing, so we had a bit of a talk about maybe doing some transformations, and I thought that this person was on board. But then when I asked, I was sharing this excitedly, and this person said, well, you can't do that. And I shook my head, and I thought, okay, I'm going to make something ugly, better, fast, with no trouble, for no money. And your response is, you can't do that. And I thought, okay, well, I said, well, why not? And the person said, because everyone would want it. And I thought two things. A, we're in kindergarten, and B, I'm talking to someone insane. So then I changed my conversational tack quite substantially. And I had to default to plan B, which made my office very colorful. It's got like drop kind of copper ceiling, and it's full of paintings, and people come in and they're, it's a place of beauty and creativity, and not a bloody, horrible, fluorescent lit factory. And I had to fight for that a lot. It was weird. And then I found out afterwards that for a while the department would bring new potential hires into my office to show them the office, to show them what was possible at the University of Toronto. So I thought that was so comical. But anyways, I do have a point of this story, because I thought about that for a long time. I thought, oh God, people are afraid of what I'm doing in this office. Well, and for good reason, I guess. But I thought there's something to this that I don't understand. There's really something to this. So then I came across this story by Robert Sapolsky. I think it was Robert Sapolsky. And he was talking about zebras. And so I'll take 2 minutes and tell you the zebra story, because if you understand this story, you understand absolutely everything about human beings, and so it's worth 2 minutes. So you know, zebras hypothetically are camouflaged, right? That's what everyone says, but come on, really? Lions are camouflaged. They're the same color as the grass. Zebras are black and white. You can see one of those things like a mile away. But there isn't a zebra. There's a herd of zebras. And so the zebra is actually camouflaged against the herd. Now that's something to think about. So the stripes of zebras are the zebra's jargon. That's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So anyways, so biologists go out and study zebras, and zebra biologists, and they got to watch a zebra to figure out what it's up to. And so they watch a zebra, and then they make a note, and then they look up and they think, oh my God, like which collection of black and white stripes was that zebra? Because the stripes don't outline the zebra, and they camouflage the zebra perfectly against the herd. So if you look away from the zebra down and back up, you don't know what you're looking at. So the biologists think, oh crap, we better solve this problem. So they drive up to the herd with a Jeep and a bucket of red paint and a stick with a rag on the end of it, and they paint one of the zebra's haunches with a red spot, or they clip its ear like you do with cattle. Then you can keep track of the zebra. Guess what happens to the zebra? The lions eat it.
Oh.
Right. Oh is right. Bloody right. Oh, yeah. The lions cannot hunt a single zebra down unless they can identify it, because they organize their hunt. They have to organize their hunt around an identifier.
You can't hunt 4 zebras. You can only hunt one at a time.
You can't hunt a blur of zebras.
No.
And so the reason they go after the little ones, or the ones that limp, isn't because, you know, they're part of kind nature and just culling the weak. That they like a nice, healthy, delicious, juicy zebra as much as the next person, you know. But they have to be able to identify. So the thing is you make yourself colorful. You stand out. The lions will kill you.
Aha.
Right. Well, Canadians, we don't like to stand out. We like everybody to do okay. But we don't like it very much when people stand out. And so, I mean, I'm not being entirely critical of that. I really do understand it. I really do understand it.
Because there's lions out there, you guys.
There are. That's right. There definitely are. And if you stick your neck out, then the lions will come. Or the sword, because that's a common saying, right? The head that sticks up above the rest is the first to be cut off by the sword. Many, many cultures have a saying like that. The poppy that grows higher than the rest is the first.
The tall poppy syndrome.
Exactly. And so, and it's exactly right. It's biologically correct. Now, why Canadians are particularly prone to that, I don't know if we are particularly prone to it, but we certainly have hideous cities, and we should be embarrassed about it, because we have the wealth to make them beautiful, and the return on that investment would be absolutely unparalleled. And it's something that, if people understood the relationship properly between creativity and economics, then we wouldn't have to have an ideological discussion about creativity, right? Because
we'd have a practical one.
We'd have a practical one. It's like, well, I don't think much of artists, says the lawyer, but they generate a lot of income, and I'm pretty happy about money. It's like, okay, maybe we can have a discussion.